want to wait a few minutes for Nan, or?
We could do the minutes.
Yeah, why don't we do, oh,
We're on.
hello, we're on. We're on the June 26th Planning Board meeting. We're waiting for a few minutes for Nan to show up. In the meantime, we're gonna do the minutes, the last few meetings and see if we can get them out of the way. They both in same thing? Yeah. Everybody had a chance to look at them?
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything.
Out of order?
I looked through it briefly. So we get the May 8th, 2019, if somebody wants to throw a motion out for that.
I'll throw a motion that we accept the meeting minutes for May 8th, 2019.
Second. No, you got it?
Get a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. Okay. Next one. Take a quick peek. I didn't see much in there that caught my eye.
Yeah, that was the A&R.
We can do the same whenever you're ready.
I'll approve I'm looking for a second for the meeting for May 22nd, 2019.
Yeah.
Accept the meeting minutes.
Second.
We get a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we got that done. Cross that off the list. What else can we jump on while Nan's not here? You wanna,
You can step out and do your,
okay, you want me to, do I need to do the presentation on that, or
oh, you have to stay away from
You
it.
have to stay
I
away
gotta
from
stay
it.
away from it? All
You're
right,
well in the hallway.
all right. Why don't you do them?
Pretty good. Doug
Do
Housley.
that, and I'll
Is
be
Doug
back
here?
in a
Which
minute.
one are we doing? The request for extension?
Yeah.
26th extension.
Is Mr.
Okay, let the record show that the chair has stepped out. Well, actually, you're the vice chair, aren't
I
you?
am.
You take it. I'm the clerk. I'll read this stuff.
All right, administrative review, request for extension for 26 Wildwood. Is Doug Hausler here?
There's letters, he sent letters.
He sent letters? That's your job.
Yes, sir. Okay, by hand, Glenn Cole, chairman. This is Harvest Lane we're looking, this is Wildwood.
Wildwood, 26 Wildwood.
Yeah, there's 3 letters there, so what, this is the last
One is, yes, Cole subdivision special permits and approval. Dear Sir, Madam, the firm represents the owner. They seek an extension of time to complete all of the conditions and approvals associated with the permits for this development. The property was the subject of a fire which significantly interrupted work at the site. We ask that all approvals remain in effect for a 1-year period to satisfy the condition of permits and approvals. The owner has not yet proceeded with the build-out of the road. We ask that the board grant all extensions for a period of 1 year. Please contact me with any questions. Doug Hausler.
Does anybody have any questions?
No. Move to grant the 1-year extension?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Don, you can come back.
I'm back.
Mike, the next one's Harvest Lane.
Yeah, Harvest Lane. Let me read this. This is also Harvest Swenson, Harvest Lane, 306 Boston Road. Dear Mr. Chairman, this firm represents the owner of the property at 306 Boston Road that was subdivided. That subdivision plan has been duly recorded at the Registry of Deeds. To make sure that all approvals remain in effect, the owner requests that the planning board grant an extension of time for 1 year to satisfy the conditions of the permits and approvals. The owner has not yet proceeded with the build-out of the road. We ask that the board grant all required extensions for a period of 1 year. Please contact me with any questions. Doug Hausler.
We get any discussion on it?
Move to grant the extensions?
Second.
Get a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
That passes. The next one is 54 Bartlett.
okay, dear board members, on behalf of our client, Deborah Dunn, Whitman, and Brigham Associates LLC, respectfully request an extension of time for the completion of the above referenced project. General condition number 5 of the planning board's decision states that the roadway installation and construction shall be completed within 24 months of this date. The applicant is requesting a 2-year extension of time in which to complete the roadway construction. Thank you for your consideration of this request. If you should have any questions or require any additional information regarding this, please do not hesitate to contact me. That's Brian Milishi.
Okay, any questions on this one? No?
All right, I move that this is a 2-year extension,
Yep,
though.
that's fine.
I move that we grant the 2-year extension as requested. Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on.
You go back on the hall again.
Yep, oh, that's right. Got another one coming up.
See you later.
A&R 554, for 114 Groton Road, administrative review. Request to sign the Mylars for previously approved A&R. I guess this is kind of got just lost in the shuffle, Colleen?
Yes, the Mylar was never recorded, but the whole file's in there. There's a decision written and vote.
So,
We just need it re-signed.
does it need to re-sign?
Yeah,
Anybody have any issues with that?
not at all. Do we need a motion on that?
Yes.
Yep.
And I move that we proceed to sign the Mylars for this A&R as requested. Second.
All in
With
favor?
no determination as to zoning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So if you get those to me, Colleen, I'll sign them for
We
you.
exercised tonight.
Yeah.
Over there in the bucket. I'll get you at the end of the meeting.
All right.
All right, where are we now?
At the
361
361 Littleton Road, we have an A&R, Pat Flaherty. Pat here, yep, Pat's down in the back down there.
All right, the application looks in order. I don't think we need to read it.
Okay. Want to waive reading of the application, or just don't do it?
Then
I guess
explain what we're doing.
I brought my low-tech stuff, but
Low tech is good.
I'm here.
Oh, let the record show.
Let the record show that Nan is here. Nan's in the house.
It's in the house.
Maybe I can approach the bench here and
Yeah, sure. If you can pull the mic towards you and Nancy, if you can.
give it a try.
Ripped it out.
I'll yell.
Yeah.
This is at the corner of Littleton and Chamberlain Road,
Yeah.
idea, and the Wickens family's been here since 1948. And a while back, this is the original homestead here. A while back, they divided the land for a house lot for John Wicken, who's here right now. And he built a big garage in the back here. It was all a big family proposition. Garage in the back. And it didn't happen to be on the second lot, on his lot. So it didn't matter with the family. But now, the parents have passed away, and the family would like to sell this house to one of the brothers, one of the siblings. And so we'd like to get this reconfigured so that this garage will go with John's house. And that's the whole idea.
Okay. We got any,
This originally was the subject of a Board of Appeals back in the 90s.
Okay.
It passed, so that's
Any-
where we are in that.
anybody got any thoughts on that, or the questions? It's an A&R, we got frontage and access, so I think it's just a simple A&R.
Yeah, let me understand, the house on the left,
Right.
Will
this is-
be-
This is number one,
Okay.
Chamberlain.
right, and they will pick up
They will pick
that
up
piece?
right here with this. with
The garage on it.
And how, just out of curiosity, how big does that leave the remaining lot?
Leaves it at around
10,000.
10,000.
10,000.
So it's becoming significantly more non-conforming.
Well, yeah, but then this
But the
is
other
an
one's
A&R.
becoming more conforming, though.
Correcting what's on the ground.
So it's kind of a win and a lose.
And what's the frontage there?
100.
This is 100. It's always been 100 here. And this is 230, I think, in here.
Yeah, but then you got frontage on the other road too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of frontage, but.
Well, there's a lot of frontage on the other,
Yeah.
on Chamberlain.
House always looks nice. They do a good job keeping it clean.
Yeah. I don't see a problem. You wanna,
Well, for the purposes of A&R, I don't
Yeah.
see a problem.
Okay.
I move that we grant A&R
With no determination too.
with no determination as to zoning. I think it's
any second?
significant
Second.
here.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good?
Great.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Have fun, Pat.
I think I broke it.
You take it with you.
All right. Make it easy.
All right. Now, these guys are gone. Where's Pam at? You're up, Pam.
There.
Route 40 Study Committee is going to give their presentation.
I don't know. Is the rear monitor doesn't seem to be functioning.
Oh, I just turned it.
Is it working?
Yes. Hello.
Hello? Once she gets that on, I want to,
Nice.
Wait till she's ready.
yeah. Well, while she's waiting on that, this Route 40 Study Committee, we're just reviewing what their work is, just so the public knows. This is not a public hearing, and the public will not have a chance to get up and speak.
Will be.
And there will be in the future when we actually do a public hearing, but for tonight, they're just giving their presentation, and we all get to listen.
I'll keep playing with it if you go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
So good evening. I want to thank all the members of the planning board for putting together the committee and allowing us to give you this presentation tonight. I will be reading from my notes because there's a lot of information and I don't want to miss anything, so I'm sorry I'm not looking at you the whole time. You have a very large binder in front of you that contains all the minutes of all our meetings. It contains all the details of all our discussions, the people that came before us to do presentations, the recommended zoning changes for town meeting, and the original plans that brought this committee together back in August of 2018. So you've got a complete package of everything from the beginning to the end so that you can reference it at any time or share it with anyone that wants to review it. I'm going to give you a very brief overview of that book. I'm not going to go through the whole thing.
Thank you.
For those that are here and watching on TV and don't know why the committee was formed, on August 29, 2018, there was a public hearing to present a proposed zoning change to Route 40 and a possible development from the Route 3 ramps toward Westford Line. This public session proposed a change to The public session proposed a change to CC or commercial zoning in that area. There was a public outcry, and it was suggested a committee be formed to study this area and make a recommendation as to the future vision of the area and to recommend whether a zoning change is needed, hence the committee. The planning board recommended the committee have 1 selectman, 2 planning board members, and 4 residents from the area to form a committee. The people that were chosen are Emily Antool from the Board of Selectmen, Nancy Arroway from Planning Board, Donald Van Dyne from Planning Board, myself, Pam Armstrong, I didn't introduce myself yet, a resident member. I do not abut the property. I'm on the other side of Route 3 on the Scotty Hollow project. Nance Gillies, a resident member who lives within the area that's being discussed. Virginia Crocker Timmons, a resident who abuts the property, and Michael Walsh, also a resident that abuts the property. Since the committee was formed, 1 resident member was elected to the planning board, Michael Walsh, and 1 resident member was elected to the Board of Selectmen, Virginia Crocker Timmons. So congratulations to both of them, but that's why they look different now than they looked then. The next slide. The committee first met on September 27th of 2018. We continued to meet over a 9-month period holding 16 meetings, usually 2 to 4 hours in length, and invited subject matter guests for input and welcomed the public to speak at the end of every meeting. Our first thought was to look at the area in question, understand it, and how the recommendations may affect homeowners, the businesses in the area, and the town of Chelmsford. And again, to those in the audience and those watching from home who are not familiar with the area, we're discussing 16 acres on the south side of Route 40, which abuts single-family residential neighborhoods and an easement by a utility company. There's approximately 51 acres on the north side of Route 40, comprising of single-family residents, a rock crushing facility, a trucking company, and land owned by the state. A little background on Route 40. Route 40 is a 10.5-mile road. It's a state road running from east to west. It connects Groton to North Chelmsford at Vinyl Square. The route's existed since 1940. By my own observation and research, this stretch of land crosses 6 brooks: Martin's Pond Brook, Cow Pond Brook, Keys Brook, Snake Meadow Brook, Blue Brook, and Gilson Brook, and it passes 5 ponds: Flushing Pond, Long Sought Fort Pond, Keys Pond, Whitney Pond, and Freeman Lake. You can find 2 horse farms, a cow farm, a forefathers cemetery, Wright Cemetery, as well as a castle, the Bancroft Castle, and approximately 225 homes. As far as businesses from Groton to Chelmsford, you'll find a grandfathered service station at Dunstable Road in Westford. Further along, a small plaza with a gas station, a coffee shop, and a cafe. When you reach Russell's Way in Westford, you see the changes Westford has made on Route 40. You'll find only 2-story buildings, that home offices, medical buildings, banks, and when you reach Oak Hill, you'll find a gas station and donut shop. Continue on, you'll find a small strip mall, housing 2 food shops and a hardware store, all under 2 stories. And continuing to Chelmsford, you'll drive over the railroad tracks, past a marshland, residential properties, until you reach a corner store, and then the VFW, and then the senior center, till you hit the businesses at Vinyl Square. So this will give you an idea of the area we're discussing, the many attributes we are affecting with proposed changes along Route 40, and to show you that we're thinking of the big picture, and then we bring it down to Chelmsford and focus again on that area in the town. I need a drink. The next slide. One of the first tasks of the committee that we felt was important is to create a mission statement. Why are we here? What was our purpose? Every member took this appointment very seriously, trying to keep our personal opinions at bay and to always look at the bigger picture. The town had asked us to really think out of the box as to what was the best use for this property. So our mission statement was formed: to review the current zoning, to consider the impact of the area, the neighborhoods, and the local businesses, and the town of Chelmsford, and recommend the best use of land for development considering changes in the future. Next. To get a better understanding of the task given to us by the town, the committee made a list of who we thought might be stakeholders, or people and groups within the town that may have facts or opinions about the area. We met with the Historic Commission, Linda Prescott, in October of 2018, the Vinyl Square Committee, Kenny Pantuzzo, October in 2018, the Chelmsford Housing Authority, David Hedison, in October of 2018, the Chelmsford Housing Advisory Committee, John Edwards, October 2018, the Assistant Town Manager, Mike McCall, in November of 2018, Community Development Director, Evan Belansky, in 11 of 2018. The Conservation Commission, I spoke to them directly and gave a letter to the committee from our conversation in November of 2018. The Director of Business Development, Lisa Maroney, in November of 2018. The Town Manager, Paul Cohen, November of 2018. I again spoke with the North Chelmsford Water Department and gave a letter to the committee from that conversation in January of 2019. And we brought Evan Belansky back twice to give us some information on subject matter that we were going over. Each guest invited had strong opinions for the input of this committee. David Hedison presented a compelling case for the needs of seniors in age-in-place situations for Chelmsford residents. And all the detailed meeting minutes that each person presented to us are found in your report books so that you can see what else they shared with us during those presentations. The next step the committee took was to look at the current zoning and to write down all the possible options for zoning in the area. This became our 7 alternate zoning options. I will briefly go through the 7, but ask you to refer to the final report and recommendation in corresponding minutes in your notebooks for any additional details. The next one. Alternate 1 is the current zoning. That would be to do nothing and leave it as it is. The current zoning is RB on the south side, which is two-family properties, two-family dwellings. I'm sorry, RC on the south side, and RC for the first 200 feet of the north side, and IA for the balance. Just a note, in 2011, the south side was zoned to RC, allowing two-family residents, as it was previously all RB. Since that zoning passed, no one has taken advantage of that and created any two-family residents on the south side. And the north side is, as I mentioned, currently zoned RC for 200 feet back from the street, which is two-family residence, and IA light industrial for the remainder of the property. The committee is going to continue to reference this current zoning as it goes forward through this next 6 options, and I won't repeat it each time. Next one. Alternate 2 is the zoning that was proposed at the August 2018 public hearing. The north side being CC commercial for the entire area, and the south side CC commercial for the first 300 feet, and RM multifamily for the remainder. CC on the north side would allow grocery stores, and the committee cited 5 grocery stores in proximity to the site, and they considered the effect to the 3 existing grocery stores in the town of Chelmsford. It also allows large brick and mortar retail, which could impact Drum Hill, the Route 110 Plaza, as well as many businesses throughout the town of Chelmsford. The committee cited many vacant buildings throughout Chelmsford and neighboring towns, Westford Four Corners, the new plaza in Littleton, Chelmsford Route 129, the old CVS building, and other downtown vacancies on 110. It noted that many stores are also leaving the Pheasant Lane Mall. The committee did not see changing to CC as a viable option, fearing this development may directly impact other Chelmsford businesses, be underutilized, and at some point create vacant and abandoned buildings, whether in this area or causing other establishments in town to close. Economic indicators predict that brick and mortar will be replaced with online shopping as time goes by. The committee felt that IA was preferred from a traffic perspective and potential development options based on the above observations and by traffic reports presented to the committee by Mike McCall. Just a note on the traffic count. Route 40, prior to the trough traffic that's to begin in late 2019, they see an average of 15,000 cars per day in comparison to North Road, which sees about 45,000 cars per day. So that shows you the difference in traffic. CC and RM on the south side were not preferred based on the proximity to the abutting residential neighborhood, causing zoning conflict, lack of screening due to the clear cut of the utility land, and the potential of zoning creep through to Main Street, creating additional zoning conflict with more neighborhoods. Just to note, there was a 6-1 vote against this option, that Donald Van Dyne would prefer that we went CC in this area, so he was not on board for this. The committee, based on community input, felt that the zoning to CC could have devastating impact on Vinyl Square and Chelmsford businesses and future development potential in the Vinyl Square area. Next slide. That's the longest one. Alternate 3 is to leave the south side as RC, which is 2 families, allowing 2-family, 2-unit townhouses or duplex buildings, and it avoids zoning conflict and zoning creep into abutting neighborhoods, and current zoning setbacks provide the screening. The north side is proposed to bring IA right to the street, much like Route 110 in Chelmsford near the Westlands. The committee also considered proposing that we consider a BAOD overlay, which the town currently has in place for Route 129. The committee discussed the details of the overlay and noted that Westford has not gone over 2 stories or similar height limit, and we may want to try to maintain consistency with the adjacent section of Route 40 in Westford through to Chelmsford. We also considered that the service needed on Route 40 are less than those needed along Route 129 due to the lack of large commercial industry located on 129. And if the owner sells the 20 acres of land on the north side, it was suggested a campus environment life science center could locate there. The committee felt there was a need to create a new overlay, other than the BAOD for Route 129, that would service the potential development of Route 40 into the future. Their thought was it should be based on the needs of the town. heard through the presentations by the committees to the parties, creating possibly a senior or an age-in-place community with supporting services. We're going to talk about the overlay a little bit later. Next slide. Alternate 4 is to bring the south side back to the previous RB single-family resident zoning, as there are no two-family buildings there now, and the north side IA, same as alternate 3 with the overlay. The committee chose to leave it as the RC as it is now and not change it to RB. Next. Alternate 5, the north side would be CC commercial, and leave the south side RB, change the south side to RB or RC, and explained in the previous options, they chose not to go with CC commercial or to change the zoning on the south side. Next. Alternate 6, the south side RM are multifamily dwellings, and the north side IA with a new overlay. The north side we spoke about in previous discussions, so I'm gonna go right to the south side. The south side RM creates a direct zoning conflict with existing and abutting properties. Some members of the committee felt it could be overdeveloped. It could increase congestion, increase vehicular traffic competing with the increased truck traffic to begin later in 2019. It provides no natural buffer to existing residential neighborhoods due to the clear-cut easement from the utility company, and it may promote zoning creep into the Main Street neighborhoods and allow heights that would conflict with the abutting zoning. It would not create a tiered zoning change through the north side, which I'll explain later. There was a 6-1 vote to consider keeping this area zoned RC, more in lines with what's working on Route 110 Westlands area, while maintaining the neighborhoods and the character of Route 40. The next one. Alternate 7 is bring CC to the street on the north side and CC on the south sides, and we've already talked about commercial and why it was not considered an formative plan. So we'll go right on to a little more about alternate 7. The discussion on whether to consider leaving the first 200 feet on the north side RC and CC in the remaining area. The committee felt the downside would be that residents would have commercial in their backyards, businesses would not have visibility from the street, and there'd be no roadside improvements or landscaping for new CC development. And again, the south side to remain RC or RB to protect against zoning conflict, zoning creep through to Main Street, and to maintain the consistency with abutting properties. So that was the reasoning to not zone CC on the backside of Route 40 on the north side. So those are the 7 possibilities. I'm going to talk a little bit about the overlay. The initial discussion was whether to use the BAOD overlay or create a new overlay for the north side. And the committee felt that the BAOD was written for 129 and did not fully apply with the existing Route 40 area or the future intent of the area. They considered what was called an SHOD overlay, you'll see in your notebooks, Senior Housing Overlay District. But we decided to take it one step further and create an overlay called the Continuing Care Community Overlay District. The reason for this is not all people that need to be in continuing care housing are always seniors. Sometimes due to head injury or medical problems, they need continuing care, but they're not seniors, and they also need a place to what we call age in place. So that's why we went with a continuing care community. Evan came to the meeting to aid in the discussion for clarifications and continuity with existing zoning definitions and tables. The purpose was to allow housing in an IA industrial zoned area. So we're talking about zoning the north side IA to the street and creating this overlay on top of the IA that would be allowed by right. This again will allow housing in an IA industrial zoned area, which currently does not allow housing, and allows complementary services and amenities to the within the overlay. The reason for this is because we know that Chelmsford has a 300-person waiting list for age-related or community care housing that currently there's no housing that exists. And we also feel that as the Chelmsford ages, there's going to be more need for additional housing in town. The overlay would complement the area as the senior center is located on Route 40. Age-related housing is nearby at Groton Road, Smith Street, and Technology Drive. And we have medical facilities at Technology Drive with doctor's offices in Westford along Route 40, Technology Drive, and Drum Hill. So it would fit the area. What does the overlay look like? Briefly, I'll give you some detail, but the more detail is in your notebooks. This would allow housing with increased density, lower living area per unit. It would allow facilitated and independent living styles for seniors and non-seniors in need. It would reduce the size of eating establishments and services to 3,000 square feet. It would limit amenities as to not conflict with the Vinyl Square businesses. It allows for medical, financial, adult, and child daycare facilities. It restricts the height to 3 stories for the first 200 feet north of Route 40 and up to 5 stories for the remaining north side, allowing greater potential for needed increased housing units. This is where we talk about the tiered effect. A height restriction for the first 200 feet would be compatible with the height of the south side being zoned RC, bringing a cohesive neighborhood character along Route 40 and a tiered height increase so as not to create a budding zoning conflict. So to get the image, we've got single-family homes on the south side, which would move forward toward Route 40 with 2-family duplexes or 2-family townhomes, which are about 2.5 stories. On the north side of Route 40, we go to 2 to 3 stories, and then 200 feet back from the street, we go up to 5 stories. So it would be a tiered effect, which wouldn't change the character of Route 40 as it stands now. It also allows for buffering and landscaping for each transition. It also encourages and allows open space consideration with the developments. It allows the developer to create 2-family duplexes on the south side as part of a north side project, possibly independent living units abutting the current residential neighborhoods, supporting the CCOD on the north side. So our final recommendation, after all this, is to leave the south side RC, the 2-family zoning, to bring IA to the street on the north side, to approve a CCCOD continuing care age-in-place overlay, which enhances the use of approximately 51 acres. And based on all the discussions and use tables, we feel this is the best use of the land now and for future growth while maintaining the character of the current residential area and Route 40 and the needs of the town while considering Vinyl Square and other Chelmsford businesses. If you want to go to the next slide. One more. So this is, the change is really minimal as far as zoning. It would just bring the IA to the street on the north side. And then the recommended zoning overlay would give developers an enhanced opportunity to do more than just have IA in that area. In closing, the committee wants to thank you for putting us together. We feel that we took painstaking care in being open-minded, considering of the neighbors, residents living in the area, and the thoughts of the needs of the town. We considered a use of this area that would prevent it from being neglected, abandoned, a neighborhood destroyed, and a blight on the town in future years, and would offer housing, services, and amenities that could last into the near and foreseeable future. We felt that we took careful consideration of the abutting neighborhoods and made concessions to allow additional development to take place in a single-zoned IA area. We'd like to ask the planning board to be mindful as they move forward. I'm going to reread that. We would like to ask the planning board to be mindful as they move forward with this zoning recommendation to public hearing and hopefully to town meeting. The careful, considerate thought went into this recommendation. As a committee, none of us have any financial or personal gain from what happens here. And with full disclosure, there is one committee member that does live within the area and is considered lives within the area to be considered for rezoning, and she has been voting in favor of all recommendations throughout the process. You're going to hear from many residents, many non-residents, as to their thoughts on the section of Route 40. You're going to hear from residents living in the area, residents wanting to stay in the area, residents and non-residents of Chelmsford, planning board members, and town officials. Again, we ask you to be mindful of their reasoning behind changing our recommendation. Are they considering what is best for the whole town, as we've been asked to do? Why would they feel they need to circumvent and override our final report? I only say this based on the input and content from the public input we continue to hear at our meetings. We looked at this as you asked us to do, for the future development, for the vision for the area, and not for one developer wanted us to use the land for. If a developer had never come before you prior to August 28th, we don't feel you'd be even looking at this area now. We don't think that those residents would have sold their homes. We hope you consider the months, the hours, and the details in gathering facts and information that went into the report when making your final recommendation to town meeting. And I do have one request as chairman of the committee to Mr. Chairman, is that the planning board reappoint the members of the committee through the town meeting vote in case any questions are raised that we can answer as a standing committee. I'd be happy to present this recommendation at town meeting if this is the recommendation you endorse. And if the planning board wants the committee to reconvene to review any specific changes, we'd be happy to be in place to do that.
Okay.
And I'd also like to thank all the members of the committee for their time given, their unbiased comments, their thoughtful discussion, and their commitment to doing what's best for the town of Chelmsford and for Route 40. And I'd like to thank all the public that did come to our meetings and speak openly and honestly, that we could take into consideration their thoughts about the process. And I want to say that Virginia apologizes for not being here tonight, but she had a previous commitment and couldn't attend. And that's it, if anyone has any questions.
Very good.
Well, thank you.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for all the hard work you did. You did an awesome job putting this together. I think everything is kind of in order here for us to deliberate on and pick at. As far as keeping the committee going, I don't have a problem with that. Does any of
Nor do
the
I.
board members fine with
It
that?
may be useful.
I think it might be useful if we have questions down the road, and so I'd suggest that we go ahead. I don't know what it takes to do that. Do we vote on that, or?
You just do it.
All right, we just did it. It's done.
Do you need an ending date as to when the appointment expires? Do you want to say?
I would say fall town meeting,
Yeah.
right? Keep it open till like the day after fall town meeting. That way, if you have to go to fall town meeting, you can go as your group.
Okay, thank you, we appreciate that.
Yep, that's not a problem. Does any of the board members have any questions for Pam, or?
I'd like to throw a comment in, because
Have at it.
seeing as I started this whole thing, I've got to say I was really, really impressed and really enjoyed working with the Route 40 committee. It was something of an experiment in consensus building, and it worked. It worked very well. Not everybody agrees with everything, but everybody agrees with enough that common ground was found, and, for the most part, looked pretty good. Certainly, a huge amount of consideration went into this, as evidenced by this book that describes what you did. So I want to thank you. I learned a lot from the committee.
Thank you.
So Mike and Glenn, is it necessary to actually have an official vote to keep this committee alive?
We can, I can write up the appointment letters and can vote on.
You can if you want.
We can do that, yeah, that's not a problem. I didn't know what the protocol was on it, that's
Well, that's kind of what we make.
yeah,
Yeah.
But
Okay.
an official appointment letter would not be a bad idea.
yeah.
Our meeting is, we say November 1st? for the
Yeah.
appointment date?
Yeah.
And while we're doing stuff, I think it'd be a good thing to have a group meeting with the group, with us, maybe with economic development, all prior to the next meeting. You said we don't have a lot on the schedule anyhow, so we could start at 6 and carry it into the meeting a little ways. That way we can kind of kick a, because different people have different thoughts and stuff, and maybe
Do a
get
working meeting.
everybody all together and all on board, and if there's any questions or anything, just try to iron them out. And
Yes and no.
I like the way the presentation is at the way it is, and there could be a few changes that other people want put in there, and I think it
Pretty
should
good to me.
be heard at the,
Be a couple of questions, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
That's,
So actually, the EDC, our next expected meeting is not until the end of July.
okay.
I could put a call out to see if
Yeah,
2
how
weeks.
how many guys you got on that committee?
7.
7? Okay. Could we reach out to them maybe and see if we can invite them to it? And
Yeah, well, the thing is that, because obviously the planning board just received the report this
Yep.
evening, they had never seen the report as well.
Right.
So I think we might need a little time to
Yeah.
digest it so we could actually speak intelligently.
Okay. Can you, tomorrow email that to everybody on the economic development? And that'll give them time to look at it,
Wonderful.
right? And then we'll just move forward with the next meeting.
Yeah.
Good.
All right.
Yeah, my point here is this, is that, of course, obviously, the EDC will like an opportunity to workshop this with you all.
Yep.
However, we also need an opportunity to discuss it amongst ourselves, so we know
Right.
so
exactly.
you're saying like the second meeting?
Yeah, if we
Want
could
to go
do.
to the second meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
if that's
Is that,
possible.
how much time do we have to get this to fall town meeting? When do we have to be ready?
You normally open your zoning hearings in mid to late August.
Okay.
And, just playing this forward, if workshops result in changes, you're likely to have a similar reaction to last August.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta say, that looks pretty impressive as it stands.
Well, we gotta take and have a committee and work,
Yeah.
have our
I think
meetings
we
and
gotta,
talk it over.
we gotta at least,
Not gonna rush it anyway.
for us, sit back and digest it till the next meeting and talk amongst,
Yeah, I really wanna read it thoroughly and
try to
underline
figure
where I
out
have questions and stuff, but that's about it.
any questions that we have before, I don't wanna just push it through tonight. I don't think that'd be a smart thing to do.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I will say that this proposal was written specifically for the Route 40 area.
Yep.
And as a planning board member, while I endorse this for Route 40, as a Route 40 committee member, as a planning board member, I believe that particularly the overlay needs a little work to make it usable for other areas besides Route 40, that we should not take it to town meeting as a Route 40 only overlay.
Okay.
So there's some tweaks in there
Yep.
that would have to be done, but as it's written, it is appropriate specifically for Route 40.
Okay. Well, that's kind of what I was kicking around. If we had like a group meeting
Yeah.
to look at that, and, I don't think it's a
It's not a
bad
big deal.
idea. We could iron things out, and if you wanted to tweak that a little bit, or,
Yeah.
I'm really looking at any like huge changes. I don't think but I think everything will kind of fall
They're not.
into play.
There's
More or less
site-specific
More questions,
clauses,
Yep.
yeah.
And some
Yeah.
questions of clarity on a couple
Yeah.
of things that I saw as I read it.
Yeah.
Everybody looks at things a little different when you look
Yeah.
at it. It's a
Yeah.
different person.
So do we want to ask the chairman of the subcommittee to attend the next meeting as well, to answer questions?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Can you do that?
You're gonna have a bunch of, if they all want to come, that'd be
But what are we
great.
saying?
I don't
Are
want
I
we
thought that
saying
was
2
the
weeks, not the first meeting, but the second meeting for,
24.
for you guys.
Yeah, we'll be here 24th.
Why don't we get these guys here at the next meeting?
Which is what date?
10.
What's the next date?
The 11th?
11th?
Actually, we have to figure that out tonight,
Right.
don't we?
And then we could bring them guys in the meeting after, and if these guys want to come back, and we can all kind of try to,
Yeah, there's a lot of
Talk
information
things-
here that you
Right, you
can't
did-
digest. You can't digest it in
Yeah.
an hour.
no, it'd be foolish to try to,
So
One-
subcommittee will come back on the 10th,
yep,
and EDC will come in the 24th.
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Okay.
One key thing in this, the meeting minutes are attached
Yep.
of our meetings.
Okay.
And so if you really want to get the conversation of each meeting, it's in
yeah, I read through a bunch of them today.
recorded.
Mike, can I just ask a question? Is everything in the book, in the PDF that I have?
Yes.
So I can send it out? Okay. And can I keep your flash drive for tonight so I can save it to my?
That is just the, that's the
just
presentation.
PowerPoint, right. I
They-
have the other book.
They don't have the presentation hard copy. But you get the book, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But I want to keep your flash
Yeah,
drive.
you can have that.
until- Okay, thank you.
I have it.
$5 each. They're cheap.
What?
Do you want my talking points?
I don't think I need them. This is what I'm
Want a
gonna
hard
send to
copy of the,
EDC and everybody else.
Presentation. We have that.
So they can review it.
This is good. I was impressed with this.
Yeah, these two.
All right. Well, I think that's, until the next meeting, we're good with everybody. And then
New business.
new business. We're moving on to new business.
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible to speak on that just really briefly?
No, we're not open to public hearing tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go through that then.
Okay.
We'd like to
Okay, we're on to new business, cluster subdivisions. I think Nan got something on that right now?
I don't have anything
did?
on
Okay.
clusters, but I do have something on density, on
Okay, sorry about that.
pre-existing non-conforming. I believe Evan has the clusters.
Okay, I had them backwards.
So the maps that Colleen has is for non-conforming.
Where is that on here?
Which one do you want to take first?
The second one, discussion of options to address pre-existing
It only
non-conforming
says cluster
neighborhoods.
subdivision on our.
Well, that's the
Yeah,
heading, but look
it's
below.
down
it.
That's
underneath.
the first heading,
Oh,
look
all
at
right.
the second heading.
Yep,
I put my glasses on.
yeah.
When we get to the second heading, but I think Evan's talking about the first one.
We'll just pass those
First.
down, and then you can bring up the image.
There you are. Oh, boy. I really need glasses on this one.
I think mine are printed bigger.
Came special delivery.
I owe him for that. I absolutely owe him for that.
Shrink it.
No, just leave it there.
Gee, I can see
So,
my house.
this image is based upon our conversation a month ago, looking at vacant 5-acre or more residentially zoned parcels, which appear as orange on the map, and then non-vacant residentially zoned parcels of 6 acres or more. So these would be parcels that have a house on it, and it's kind of like an estate, so to speak, excess acreage. So for vacant over 5 acres, there's 52 parcels that show up. And for non-vacant 6 acres or more, there's 46 parcels that show up. I then asked JS just to put the wetlands hydrology overlay on this, so you can quickly see at a fairly quick glance, a handful of the properties just are not developable. And I could go into offline, between now and the next meeting, I could, dive into deeper and tell you how many of the 52 and 46 parcels, truly are developable. But you can see there's a good chunk that certainly are, the middle section of the community and southern portion of the community. So I think that this exercise was intended to provide some guidance to the board related to whether reducing the 10-acre minimum on an open space subdivision down to something like 5 acres would be worthwhile. That's me.
Evan, how many of these are over 10? In other words, how many of them would qualify under today's zoning?
Yeah, well, the other, the Warren Farm.
I don't know offhand. I could
Okay,
do that
that's all right.
analysis.
Warren Farm.
I don't think there'd be many of them that would.
No, there can't be.
Just looking at them,
Right, so some of the.
And the ones that have a lot of wetland.
Right.
One of my maps will show it better.
Yeah, some of the larger ones are chapter land,
Yep,
Yeah.
not that that prevents development.
right.
And then this, as you can see, there's some scattered wetlands and so forth. But there's certainly, a good handful of properties
Okay.
that would,
It might benefit from
might,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And as I think as the board knows, the open space cluster would, it does not provide a density bonus.
Right.
It allows lots to be reduced down to 12,000 square feet. In exchange, the remaining land is to be protected open space.
Yep.
So it's been fairly successful in
Yeah.
town over the years.
Yeah, we haven't seen one in a while, though, other than.
Been a couple of
Meadows.
years.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, because there isn't any big pieces
There's
big
nothing
enough
to develop.
to do it. That's probably why.
Where is there an example of this in town?
Way.
What's Charlie Wogis's place that he did on Concord Road?
Yeah.
Hazen Street?
Hazen?
That was-
Arthur Ave?
Arthur Ave. Hey, what am I thinking, Hazen?
It's close.
Yeah, that was one of them. You're right. All right, so we get some info on that. You're gonna get us some more.
Yep.
So what's the discussion on the pre-existing non-conforming one that we got with the,
I have some data for you.
okay.
Now, could you pass those out?
Take what?
We're getting big maps on this one.
Big maps.
Nice, I like it.
Sort of.
These are readable.
We can see.
Somehow the zoning that's on Route 40 is false.
What? Yeah.
I'm serious.
Gotcha.
Good.
Look at the graphs.
Yeah, I do. Graphs. I do lots of graphs. I live with graphs.
Nice.
Oh,
Place here.
this might be worth putting up on a wall.
Give extras to them.
There's two of them.
There's two of them?
There's two of them.
Oh.
One shows the lot size of currently populated residential RB lots.
Yeah, grab one of them, Hank, while you're here.
You want Hank?
He needs one.
All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. That's my question.
A little bit organized.
Well, this is gonna sound good until you make it.
Oh, I bet it does.
Which one do you want? Can we get that?
All right, so look at the little one that I handed out first.
Which one are you looking at?
The little one first. And then we'll go to the maps. So, the first chart in blue shows the size of residentially used RB lots. The interesting thing I found is that half of the residentially used lots in the RB districts are under 28,000 square feet, contrary to popular belief. The average size of those lots is 36,000 square feet, closer to the zoning of 40,000. So what that basically means is the big lots are very big because it offsets from the median. But half of the lots are way, way undersized.
Right.
All right? We are not a town of 40,000 square foot lots by any means. We're a town that is predominantly under 30,000, and many, many, large percentage of about 40% of those lots are under 20,000. So the next chart, the blue and gold, shows the building trends since 2001. The heavy bars, the blue and gold bars, show the volume of residential RB properties that were built in those 2-year spans. The golds are non-conforming sized lots, and the blues are conforming sized lots. As you can see, a significant portion of new production is being built as well on undersized lots. And these undersized go anywhere from 38,000 down to about 5,000. The third chart I included because it's a useful reference point. And this is the Chelmsford income demographics.
Okay.
And I have different points from the US Census, basically what I could get from their site. So what it's showing in particular is that the median, in other words, half of the population, the income point hasn't really changed a whole lot in the last 10 years.
No.
On the other hand, and the percentage of the Chelmsford population households that are under 25,000 a year hasn't changed much in the last 10 years. Okay, that's not the number of them, that's the percentage, all right? But the percentage of households that are over 200,000 has been changing pretty dramatically. So what we're seeing, if you combine the data on the second chart of new housing and the cost of that new housing, and look at the changes in income demographics, is that we're basically the new builds of single, two-family, three-family, because I did not include multifamily housing in this, has been predominantly in the high-end range. As we go through town, as we watch what's happening, I think we all know that, but these are the numbers behind it.
Yeah, it has to be with the price of the lots that are out there. You
It
can't
has to be with
you
the price
can't-
of the lots.
put a cheap house on an expensive lot. It just
Okay.
doesn't work.
And also building materials.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so now we can go look at the pretty maps.
Maps, okay.
So if you look at the map that is in orange, pink, and yellow.
Great.
Okay, that's that one.
This one?
Yeah, that's that one. Orange, pink, and yellow. All right. The orange properties are RB lots that are in the 20 to 30,000 square foot range. The pink are RB properties that are less than 20,000 square feet. And the yellow are RC properties that are zoned at 20,000 square feet. So what we're seeing is clusters of undersized properties. Various areas were developed with well below a 40,000 square foot lot area.
What are the white ones?
The white ones are anything else in town,
Okay.
okay?
They looks like a lot of the white ones are kind of the same size as,
They could be, but they are either not residentially used RB,
okay.
they are not residentially used RC, they could be anything else, but
Okay.
that's what I went searching for.
Yep, no,
you
that's
know,
good.
Because this was kind of a survey on RB
Right,
nonconformance
right.
areas. So, based on this, I'm still of the philosophy that we should create a fourth residential zone that accommodates those areas that were designed to be smaller lots, to allow them to be conforming in the size in which they were designed.
I agree with
So,
that.
a question was presented when we talked about that before, and that was, does that open areas up to having a lot of new development on little lots? So that gets us to the next thing. On this sheet, vacant land in the RB district over 40,000 square feet, conforming, is shown in the red color. And these are going to be some of the lots that Evan showed on his previous map. This map is easier to read and shows the wetlands better, so by all means, use it to reference, to study Evan's map, because you'll get a lot better information about, can you really build on those lots from this map. The green areas, and as you can see, there's not very many of them, are vacant land in RB that is between 30 and 40,000 square feet. And the yellow areas are vacant land between 20 and 30,000 square feet. So if we, for instance, established a district that was at 20,000 square feet for some of these areas, you would see basically anything in green and yellow being added to the buildable lot sizes.
Okay.
And that's only if those particular areas are in the district that we would choose to apply it to. So that's my spiel.
All right. Well, I think it gives us a lot of information. I think it's kind of helpful if it leads us in the direction that I think we're all looking at anyhow. It's,
I really am an advocate of saying, okay, some of these high-density
yeah,
areas should be zoned something else.
okay. What would be the next step as far as going forward on that, would you say, Evan, is?
I think the board needs to figure out if that's really what they want to do. The clustering map that Nan showed, while certain areas of town could easily be a new R zoning designation, to do the entire town may be a lot more difficult.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
So then you're left with, the planning board goes to town meeting and says, we created a new zone and we fixed 70% of the problems. The remaining 30, tough luck. So I'm not sure that that's the right solution. I still believe that it's not a zoning map issue, it's a zoning bylaw issue. And the zoning bylaw amendment would fix everybody. You're not leaving anybody behind. And you're not creating new development opportunity.
Right,
But that's something that the board's gonna have to figure out. What's your priority?
right. Well, after hearing on the last presentation that there's not enough housing, you're starting to think, would it be wise to go that route to get more housing? Because it's obviously looking for more housing and all these other developments.
Data doesn't necessarily reflect on-the-ground sentiment. You guys likely recall Bentley Lane,
Yep.
perfect example. So I think individual neighborhoods of single-family, well-established neighborhoods, I think we all know how they're gonna feel if you go to town meeting and provide, knowingly and willingly provide an opportunity for more houses to be built in established neighborhoods.
Okay.
I mean, it's no different than, since Route 40 was discussed tonight, no different than Route 40, where you buy in a single-family neighborhood. and town meeting's asked to reconsider a zoning that allows something that 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago people bought into, and they thought they were buying into a well-established single-family neighborhood. So I think those are the challenges.
We gotta remember also with two parts to this thing too. We're
Right.
also thinking about all the people that live there that already have the houses that every time they have to do anything.
Right, so-
Polish their
right.
doorknob.
So that's why I'm saying, I think,
Yeah.
I think the initial planning board interest was to alleviate the ZBA burden that is significant right now.
Right.
That can be done without a zoning map amendment, and that would cover everybody. You wouldn't leave anybody behind.
Okay.
And then do a different.
Zoning map amendment may be phase 2, step 2,
Yeah.
but I think as we discussed tonight, and Nan's map clearly reflects it, you may only be able to get 60, 70% map amendments.
What's the rest of the board's thoughts on this? Why don't we go around and let everybody else chime in if they want?
Well, I don't understand Evan's comment about opening up neighborhoods for additional high-density development based on the map of available lots. Because the fact is, there's only a handful of available lots, and most of them are not in those high-density areas. So, you know, I for one am not talking about reducing lot size requirements across the board. I'm looking at it in these these areas that specifically have undersized lots, such that
And that's what they were built
any
at.
use, that's what they were built at, and any building there that is on a lot of a similar size
Right.
is going to be compatible with that neighborhood, because that's what the neighborhood is. I'm not looking to put half-size lots in areas that have acre and a quarter lots consistently through it, because it wouldn't be compatible with the neighborhood.
Right.
That's my thoughts.
So what happens when you rezone an area, that there's a larger lot in that area, and you rezone it for a smaller house lot? Can that owner then, rightfully so, split that, all
They
that property up?
definitely could split. So if you have an area
So
that,
that's- so
that we
that's-
would
I think that's
choose,
where Evan was heading down.
But it would
because-
still be in character of the
but
neighborhood.
it's still in the character of the neighborhood.
Right.
It allows, it provides the ability to then add some more housing to our stock, because we just don't have the ability.
I was under the impression that
To build at this
brand-new
point.
homes would still require the acre lot.
No.
So then
No.
so why wouldn't we go back to what Evan proposed a couple of meetings ago, when the original home was built? At that time, what was the law at that time on the setbacks? Then they would be conforming.
So, I mean, I agree with everything Nan's saying, with the exception of the Westlands. The Westlands it's not South Chelmsford. So in the Westlands, you are definitely going to potentially create a large number of new buildable lots. And I'm not suggesting that that's inappropriate, but the planning board needs to understand that if you go down that path, that is what you're willingly doing and presenting to town meeting. I agree with you. Down in South Chelmsford, you could create very specific, a new residential zoning district, and you would not result in a lot of new buildable lots. But if you apply that to the Westlands, you likely will.
Yeah, we'll take away, I think it would take away from the neighborhoods to build them out too much. And
What's driving this discussion?
The primary,
No, but what's driving, of
That's-
the pre-existing non-conforming existing homes?
single.
What's driving the
Those
discussion?
have to go to the zoning board.
What's
Mo-
driving the discussion on new homes at the present
Nothing.
size?
Nothing.
So new homes should stay the same.
That are undersized, that are not buildable right now, but if you change it, they could be.
And
Then
there's.
you're gonna have people
and-
subdividing
And every,
them. Their
over
lots.
half of our lots,
And it takes away from the town.
you have to go to the ZBA to do anything to your house to improve it.
Existing lots.
Existing lots.
Correct. So what happens with someone, What are you trying to do? I mean, what's this committee
Why-
trying to do?
frankly,
Why would I
Would it be
require
enough
an
if
acre
it-
to build a new house in an area that already has an average lot size of 1,500 square feet?
I
So
agree
you
with that, but that's
fit
when
into
you go
the
back-
area.
Think
That's-
about it, Mike, when
You
you,
go back to the existing structure.
when you go into
No.
one of these neighborhoods, if say, in the Westland somewhere, somebody has a house on a 35,000 or 40,000 square foot lot, odds are that house is gonna be plopped right smack dab in the middle of that lot. Subdividing it's gonna be impossible unless it
Anyway.
tears the house down anyhow. So odds of it happening are probably gonna be slim to none.
There's no big lots like that.
No, but I'm
Yeah,
just
well,
saying, if
that's
there
it.
was, there's already a house on it, and it's already, you wouldn't fit the second lot
Yeah.
on it. There's-
The cost of a homeowner to go to the ZBA, to alleviate that was the origination of the, because everything in the Westlands comes to the ZBA. Anybody wants to put,
A doghouse.
It's a cost, it's a time delay.
I understand
Right,
that.
but
It's a
I
requirement
totally-
to go.
that's where it started.
But I totally agree with that. That's why I liked Evan's presentation 2 meetings ago, was to go back to the original date when the building was built, what was conforming then, we have those dimensions. It solves the issue for every single home in the town,
Yeah.
instead of rezoning the maps. You rezone the maps, you're gonna create an issue
Yeah.
every area of this town. And then you're gonna have an uproar in every area of this town, because all of the,
And overbuild.
whatever the
Yeah.
trees, the green spaces that you have is gonna be built with a home. So it's either one or the other.
What about
I
an
disagree.
amendment, like you
do?
Evan
I
said?
disagree, because in fact, if you do this carefully and judiciously, the number of lots that will become buildable for additional units is rather small.
It's unfortunately rather small.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, look at the thing that makes this potentially work is the degree to which these areas of undersized lots are clustered. And you can see them, they stand out at you on this, where did I put it? I guess I got it rolling on the ground. I mean, you can see the Westlands, it's clear. You know exactly where it is.
Right.
And if that was RB2 instead of RB1, up here.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go up here and you changed the required lot size here, and maybe here, from 40,000 to 30,000, you'll make a whole lot of lots conforming, and you won't actually add a whole lot of buildable
Because
territory.
if they're already,
There'll
they're
be one
already
here,
built.
there'll be one
They're
there.
built out.
But they're built out.
The odds of
They're
people
built, they're built out.
tearing their house down to put 2 houses on,
There'll be a few.
there's
We'll
gonna be a
see one or
few, there
two a
would
year.
be, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't go out of the character of the neighborhood.
Mike,
And if
Mike,
they-
taking your approach, how difficult would it be,
What?
taking your approach, how difficult would it be to come up with a number of homes that might be affected or to be buildable?
I think the information is available in the database. You probably ought to ask Nan, because she's been digging around in the database.
Yeah, the difficulty is assigning streets and street numbers to the areas that would be affected. I mean, this, as you can see from these maps, I can easily identify the lots that are affected. But to get an accurate count, I either put dots in here and count them, or I create a mapping system, mapping table that identifies which of these streets we would include. Either way, it's a pain. But it can be done. I mean,
I would think the only-
counting
yeah.
them is probably the easiest, is to simply take a map, draw lines around areas that we would consider, which is basically around the high-density areas,
Yep.
and then start counting them one by one.
Get on the GIS and look which lot actually has a house on it.
No, these all have lots.
Could you-
Everything on here has houses.
Could you, with that being said, could you kind of do a hybrid on your thing and overlay the GIS on that would show where the houses sit on every one of them lots? Or would that be really difficult?
you're not gonna be able to read it even at this scale.
Okay. No, I'm saying if you did like this neighborhood and put that on a big
Yeah,
plan,
we could,
right?
we could.
By
Sure.
not on the whole town
Well, I
map,
mean,
but,
But the question is, you know, if you're looking,
because I don't think
I mean-
it's gonna create that big of an issue, and it's,
this is a lot of properties. This one. All right, so if we're looking at everything between 20,000 and 40,000 as being affected, or some fraction of those properties being affected.
Right.
And it would be a fraction because, you know, the ones that are scattered around,
Yep.
we're not gonna rezone
you're gonna do
because you
a
have a
neighborhood.
scattering. You're gonna
Right.
do neighborhoods.
Right.
And you're only going to do neighborhoods where, you know,
But is that fair?
70 to 90% of the properties are undersized.
But is that fair?
What do you mean
happens if-
fair?
If you have a home on a lot that's 20,000 square foot in the Westlands, and then you have a home on South Chelmsford, 20,000 square feet, but you change it just for Westlands and you don't change it for the size?
Why not?
No
Is it
different
fair
than an
today that
RC
you have
zone.
to do?
Zoning, yeah, we
It's-
have zoning all across town that.
Yeah.
It's different.
This is
Yeah,
like.
but it's
this is
just
like-
'cause we
this
picked
is
it
like
'cause it was
spot zoning
easier.
Well,
on steroids.
Oh, no,
it's not, I mean,
no.
Mike, the piece that what the other board members are trying to say to you is, in like the Westlands and some of these other neighborhoods, a new house that's built on a conforming lot
Yeah.
is completely out of character. It's a mansion.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
I know.
So, in the neighbors, when they see these houses built, they have complaints.
Yep.
How did the town allow that to get built? It didn't even go to the zoning board, so there's no public notification, there's no public hearing, there's no abutter input. They're allowed by right. They don't happen often, but when they do happen,
They annoy the
those
neighborhood because
those
they're so
neighborhoods,
big.
those
I can see
streets
that, right?
Yeah.
are very upset. So I think what you're hearing some members saying is that if the zoning map were amended, at least those new homes would be of similar scale to the existing historic fabric of those neighborhoods. At the end of the day, it's gonna come down to meeting with the Westlands, right?
Yeah.
And having a map, having a workshop, and pointing out specific examples as to if we rezone, these are the areas where new houses could be built, but they wouldn't be out of character. They'd be
Could
of
you put a
similar
like a size limit on, like the new zoning district?
You'd be doing that based upon the current dimensional table, FAR, setbacks, and
Yep.
and so forth.
Can I suggest a way forward on this one? If we are going to look at the possibility of changing zoning, and I think it makes sense, because frankly, I don't like the idea of letting people's rights under zoning vary depending on when somebody happened to build the lot, you know?
Yeah.
Was it 1910 or 1940? What's the difference?
It defeats
It-
any
yeah.
kind of current planning.
It defeats current planning. But what we can do is we can take this and come up with perhaps 3 different scenarios. A tightly bound scenario where you concentrate the rezoning very much on the areas that show the undersized lots, and there will be undersized lots in other part of town that aren't touched. You can have one that's somewhat bigger and broader, includes more of the undersized lots, but begins to include some number of lots that are not undersized. And then maybe a third option even bigger than that. It's how tightly or loosely you want to draw the lines, and then you can see what the results are for those 3. Clearly, for the very tightly drawn lines, what you will get is you will get fewer houses, fewer homes overall in town that become conforming that are currently non-conforming. On the more expansive view that you might take, you'll have a greater potential for lot division and additional places to be built. But then you can measure it. You can say, well, in this one, we get so many percentage that are, so many properties that might get redeveloped. With this slightly larger one, there's so many more. With the slightly larger one, with so many more. And then we can compare them. And
unfortunately, that's a heck of a lot of work. That's a lot of counting
So,
dots.
so if they got a buildable lot on, say, a Westlands,
Yeah.
and you'd rezoned it, so could they come in and build a McMansion on that?
Well, that's what we were just
On that
talking.
lot.
If you got a small lot, we could set a size limit on what size house you,
We
you're
already
not gonna
have the
put a
FAR.
6,000
Have
square
those.
foot
Well,
house
that's what
or
I'm
7,000 square
wondering.
foot.
So it would have to be built to fit the neighborhood? That's what I'm,
So for the Westlands, the starting point would be, what would be the minimum, the new minimum lot? And I'm looking at the map, a lot of those houses are under 10,000. They're probably on
Right.
5,000 to 7,500 square feet.
Yeah.
And then if you look at the map and you look at the properties that are between undersized, but they're either orange or red, if you pick something, a new minimum lot area to make the existing historic Westlands conforming, you're down to 7,500.
That's what they were built to.
So every one of these that are 20 to 30, they're gonna get 3 lots out of it.
If you take it down to 7,500, but I don't think that's where you're gonna go.
But then doesn't that defeat
No.
the second purpose of this exercise, is to
It's-
make what's on the ground conforming?
To make some amount of it conforming, but you're never gonna get it all. I can make it all conforming by
Well, that-
making the lot size 2,000
That's
square
the
feet.
challenge in the
That ain't gonna
Westlands.
happen.
The majority of the
Yeah.
Westlands is under 10.
Okay, well, the majority of the Westlands is under 10, but maybe the number that you pick is not 10. Maybe the number you pick is 15.
Or the number you pick is.
Yeah.
what's
Could even be
zoning.
20,
You know what?
but not 40.
Agreed, but
Thousand.
that only solves half the problem.
No, it solves quite a bit of the problem, because
I
most of
think
those
you-
are still aren't gonna be buildable.
I think you attack this as a two-prong.
Yeah.
It has to be
Yes.
in
I
that
think it does.
You have to do it as
You'd
a
have
two-prong.
to, you'd have to, right.
You got the people that are existing there that we're trying to help, that want to put an addition on the side of their house, even if it's 2 feet.
Yeah,
Or
and they gotta march down.
If
to
they,
the
if they
ZBA.
want to put a bay window in their house, they have to go in front of the ZBA because they're pushing the side of the house at a foot. Those people there, we're trying to help. And we may end up having 2 things go in front of town meeting and
Yeah.
solve it 2 different ways. And, you know.
Yeah.
That's 2 separate problems.
One will be an easy fruit to solve, and the other one's not going to be nearly as easy to solve.
The other one's a lot of work.
A lot of the ones are going to be a
Well,
lot of work.
it might be easier to discuss if we had concrete straw men in front of us.
So.
And that's what I'm thinking might make some sense.
What do we need to get for that?
You need to talk somebody into doing it.
Yeah.
We have,
How about him?
I think we got the ability to tell somebody to do
I mean,
it.
I'm more than happy to continue, to work with Nan. I think Nan has a much better understanding as to
Yeah.
the mapping
And
that's.
that software she got, I think works awesome. That's,
This is the GIS software. I turn it over to Nate,
yeah.
and he maps
Bang up
it.
job.
I get the, this comes from the
If you're able
assessor's
to
database.
articulate to Nathan, the GIS manager, what it is that you want, he can produce the
He can,
map.
he can produce
Okay.
the maps, and he does it
It
fast.
becomes increasingly more
beautiful.
difficult to be able to articulate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Nan,
The problem is
where
that-
you are very good at this stuff, because that's what you do.
Yes, of course I'll do this.
Can you talk to Nate and tell him what we want?
No, I have to give him the data tables, and he'll
Okay.
plot it.
Okay.
So basically, the question becomes, what information do we want? And I have to go in with the assessor's database and run the queries to create the data tables that have that specific information in it. Okay, so I need to understand what it is you're looking for so that I can create those queries.
Maybe a focus on the Westlands as a kind of
Example.
pilot case
That's
study.
probably the toughest one, so why
No.
not
Right.
get that out of the way?
I'd like to take 2 areas. I'd like to take this area that's predominantly orange.
Okay, where is that? That's east?
Uh,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
south.
kinda Southeast.
It's,
Yeah, I think it's south.
You guys don't know you.
I don't know, it can't be
straight.
south. What
think
is
you
it?
bet.
Maybe it's east. It's the farms,
It
I
is
bet.
east.
the farms are all
locust map
good-sized
is on top.
lots.
See the corner?
Yeah, so it's gotta be east.
It's gotta be east.
Why don't you just take one
So it's gotta
neighborhood
be
and do an
east.
example first?
And I'll take the westlands.
You know what I mean?
Why put all the different-
But
Why don't
yeah,
you just take one
And
there's
there's
this, because you have
Yeah.
different in there, and then see for
This
example.
is, this,
And then if that works, then you might look
Right.
at some of the others and say,
Yeah.
okay, this and this become part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The understanding of what you're trying
Just
to do.
treat them like
All
they're,
right,
you know,
so
RB1,
I'm gonna
RB2,
take the
RB3.
Westlands and I'm gonna take the orange, and we'll take a look at them. And see what we get out of it,
That's easy enough.
okay?
That's good.
So then we can blow those up and I will I will also identify lots within those areas that are over 40,
Yep.
such that they could be subdivided if you went to 20. Because you want to know about that,
Right.
you know. Is how many potential extra lots would you
Right.
be creating?
And if it was possible to show the lots, the houses on the lots, if he could do
I'll
that.
talk to Nate about it.
You know what I mean? Put the, boom,
I believe that
and then we can look at it and say,
data
all
he
right,
has.
how many of these could you fit a second lot on? And you might look at it and say, well, if you tore the house down, you could, but
Yeah, but are you
Yeah,
really gonna
but-
do
but
it?
it-
somebody really gonna
but
tear their house down.
Is that useful to you?
Yes.
And it might
They
be.
do.
Not
Lex-
everybody
You ought to
will.
see
It
Lexington.
might be.
They will.
yeah, but
It might
people,
be
a lot
useful
of
to
people
do that.
won't sell.
No.
But,
And a lot of
have you
that's
guys
historical
used
anyway.
the
to get a lot.
GIS map that's on that you can get to via the town website?
Yes.
Okay, I believe that's the database that Nate's pulling this from.
Okay.
So you know all the layers that are in there and the
Yep.
various information that's embedded with that tool.
Mhm.
If indeed that is his source data,
Yep.
then we can get whatever overlays on here.
All right,
Okay.
that's right.
Um, we would be of interest. I don't see this as going forward for fall. I think
No,
this is a
it'll
lot
be a
more work
spring.
than that.
Yep,
But, you know, maybe we can make it happen for spring.
yep.
We could probably do the first prong for
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
Go for
Yeah.
the easy fruit.
That's potential, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Says the farmer.
Well, with that being said, does anybody have any other ideas?
About motions?
Yes.
Did you have
got a
a
motion.
bullet 3? Wait a minute. You had a bullet 3 under new business?
Bit of bullet 3 where?
Don't get excited about
Oh,
making
Master
motions
Plan
here.
Update Committee, resignation of Linda Prescott. I didn't see that one there.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, so the reason this is on is when the planning board came up with the membership for the 2020 master plan, you identified 2 of the members would be former committee members. Linda was one of them.
Okay.
So the question for the planning board is, do you want to fill it, and if so, how? So there's 3 options. You can leave it as is, and the committee's up and running. You can choose to fill it and attempt to fill with a former master planning committee member. I've already reached out to Jim Lane and Sheila. Neither seem overly interested. Dave McLaughlin had already indicated fairly strongly initially that he wasn't interested. Or you could, third option is you could fill that position without it being a former master planning committee member.
How many people do we have right now?
6,
there's
Odd numbers
advantages
are
to
better.
having odd numbers.
Yeah.
right?
Did you say odd numbers or odd members?
Well, that too. We already have odd members.
So what do we,
We do have the resident applications.
I think it might make sense to grab another, person at large. I mean, you've got, as you say, you've got a database of them.
Yeah, you've got apps.
Yeah. And we
why
can
don't we do that? Grab a person at large and throw it on there and
See if they're still interested.
see if they're still interested, yeah.
I would suggest that we take a look at, in that we had voted on the at-large members, and I would suggest that we take a look at the runner-up.
Okay.
Does anyone recall? Or do you want to,
Yeah.
we'll have to go back into the record?
Is Joe ready?
Joe's on the committee.
Oh, wait a minute, no,
Goes on.
no,
There's
that- no, wait a
There's a
minute.
gentleman that actually
Who's-
was the tech,
Oh,
Yeah,
that guy from California.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, he
Yeah.
would be
He
dynamite.
looked pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
We'll
I'll
figure
go
it
back
out.
through the.
Yeah.
Yeah, go figure it out. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was a pretty good guy.
Yeah.
He seemed like he'd be really interested.
He left an impression.
It was actually
Yeah.
kind of hard to pick one. 'cause
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah, there were some good
Yeah.
people there.
it was hard.
So
But I'm
if
thinking
you could
in
make
that
a
we
motion
voted-
to the effect, that way we don't have to wait till your next meeting.
Okay,
And then we could, if that gentleman is interested, we can get him wrapped in.
All right, I
so a
immediately.
motion for this, so moved. Do we get a
But we
second?
just don't know his name.
All in
at the
favor?
meeting.
Aye.
You got it? Just
Thank you.
figure out what his name is and give him the job.
I did.
Mike.
Mike
Mike made the motion. Okay, there you go.
Yes.
and Tim second.
Tim
right?
second. Yeah.
All right, next motion.
Next
Next
one.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All
got
in
that
favor?
one in
All in
first?
favor?
All right, we're done.
What do you guys want to do?